Welcome everybody. This is the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform the community call happening every single Tuesday 8 a.m. Pacific time, and this is with the Microsoft speakers. My mouse is somewhere else. 1 second. Here we go. Now I can actually move the slides. It is November 14th. My name is Vesa. I'm a principal product manager in the Microsoft 365 platform areas and working obviously closely with Power Platform as well. We are trying to always promote the better together story with these two different sides of the Microsoft Cloud. Now, today, we're going to start with a recap of all of the assets and news and all of the things which we have available for you to get started with Microsoft 365 and Power Platform. Typical set of assets, but we always have new people in this course as well. So it's important that we are recapping the assets and what's available for you as well. Then we go to the latest news, and there's a lot of news this week. We're queuing into the holiday season, so to say, especially in US. Thanksgiving is a week from now, pretty closely, a week from now, Thursday. And that means that there's going to be a lot of announcements this week and next week, and then things will slow down a bit. And also, it is Ignite Week, so there's going to be a lot of announcements related this week as well, related on new capabilities and new products, and a lot of awesome stuff there. Now, then after the 15, roughly the intro section, we will definitely move into the demos and the real stars of the day. We'll start with Nancy around introduction to the new Viva connection version 3.0. And we do have certain technical challenges there, so let's see all of the features we can actually show there. There was some issues within our internal dogfooding environment, but let's see how it goes. At least you will see the intro, how it's intended to work, and then we'll do a live demo and on certain behaviors as well, and we'll do definitely additional videos with Nancy as a separate setup later on. Then we move into with Dan Wahlin on signing in a user and getting an access token for organizational data using Microsoft Graph Toolkit. So making it super easy to be connected to your organizational data using the Graph Toolkit within the solution which we've been building together with Dan and Aisha related on AI integration model within the Microsoft 365. And then the last, but definitely not the least, demo today, which will be coming from the Power Platform AI hack, one of the Finner teams. So Daniel and Isabella is here to talk about the best AI-powered solution, what they were awarded with as part of that competition within a few weeks back. So really, really cool demo as well. Now, quickly recapping some of the assets which are available. Not going to mention all of the URLs and all of the things. We have a lot of things available for you to take advantage. The key URL to remember is the AKMS/community/home, from where you can find all of the links which are mentioned within the slide. We have samples, we have discussions, we have communications, we have open source, we have YouTube videos and all of that. Of course, all of the recordings of the community calls are also being published in that YouTube channel. So you will see all of the recordings typically within 24 hours after the call getting published. You cannot access the recording directly from the Teams chat. That only works for internal people, which is a bit of pity, but that's why it is getting published within 24 hours within the YouTube. We also have a lot of these calls. So this is not the only call. This is the Tuesday call where we have Microsoft presenters. This week we have also the Power Platform monthly community call happening on second Tuesday or second or third Wednesday every single month. A lot of Power Platform focus over there. We have also the Office Sign-in monthly call. We have also the 7 a.m. Thursday series every single week Thursday. It's either the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform community or the Viva Connection SharePoint Framework community call. Obviously, these are not isolated communities. It's all part of this larger community umbrella, and we want to show you the art of possible within Microsoft 365 and Power Platform. You can join one of the calls or a few of the calls, check the recordings. Every single demo within this calls are also getting published as an individual video within YouTube for easy consumption. You can download recurrent invites on AKMS/community calls, and we always publish the agendas at AKMS/community/meetup roughly a week before the call is happening. Now, in a lot of these calls, we actually welcome community presenters. So you who's joining on this call, if you build something cool, you run into a challenge, but then you figure it out related on Power Platform, Microsoft 365 development feature capabilities, information architecture, whatever it is, we would welcome you to present within this course. This is also a great way of getting, for example, MVP status or MVP contributions, which we need to do every single year to get renewed as an MVP. Easiest way to do to sign up for the demo is just go AKMS community request and demo, fill in the form, and we will then suggest the right call for you based on the content. What are you planning to present? So it's one form for all of the different community calls which are available for you to take advantage. We also have a lot of assets to get started in Microsoft 365 Cloud. We have the developer program, which will give you the free E5 developer tenant, which will automatically renew in every single 90 days, and a lot of training material available from the Microsoft Learn. All free for learning how the Microsoft Cloud actually works. We also have state of different podcasts and video blogs, which are happening every single week, bi-weekly, and a bit further or rarer. What was the right way of saying that in English? Doesn't matter. But PMP Weekly typically happens, as the name implies, every single week. Mondays at Microsoft happens bi-weekly, roughly. Power Platform Connections with David and Hugo happened, I think, bi-weekly at some point. Now there has been a small break. We'll see what happens there. And then we have the Microsoft 365 Developer Podcast, which is happening every now and then as well. So a lot of podcasts to stay, which are sharing the latest updates within the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform. We also have a lot of samples available. This number is now, if I remember correctly, 1,750 samples coming from Microsoft and community. So we do have one centralized location where you can go, and based on your interest, what are you planning to build, or what are you planning to configure, or what are you planning to execute, you can find relevant samples for you. AKMS community samples is the location, and you'll find all of the samples from Microsoft and community from one centralized location. So super popular location, and we can see the interest and activities there increasing every single week. Now, as you find the sample, you might be wondering, okay, so this is in GitHub. How does that work? I have no idea. Please help me, community. Where can I find help? And that's where Sharing is Caring is helping us. David, coming live from LA, can explain what Sharing is Caring all about.
Yes, live from Los Angeles. Thank you, Vesa. Well, friends, this is our program that provides hands-on guidance, and we know that the schedule has been up and down lately. We've got some normalization coming in for the team. Hugo's going to be leaning back in, which is going to be great here now that he's a member of the community. Well, never mind, that's a long story. We're here to support you all. And we have sessions that are going to be ramping up. We have videos that are going to be coming soon. We have office hours that are going to be setting up. So please definitely keep an eye out for us. Don't give up on us. We are here to support you. We're trying to figure out ways that we can ensure that you are supported with hands-on guidance to get more involved in the community with the support that you need and deserve. And of course, once you do contribute to the community, we want to recognize you for all the amazing work that you're doing on the next slide, which is about the recognition program. On the next slide.
Yep, absolutely.
There we go. Which is our recognition program. So we've got a couple of new badges that just launched with our season of getting and slice of samples. I was just processing them this morning on vacation, but the community never sleeps. So we are here to recognize all that you're doing. Got about 22 that have already earned both of these badges. So keep on the if I could speak today, it would say keep an eye on your emails for those badges. They are going to be coming out and more. And there is plenty of time for you to contribute and get involved. ak.ms/me/recognition. No cost. We cover the cost. Please get involved. Let us know if you have any questions. Vesa, back to you in the Finland studios.
Excellent. Thank you, LA, and thank you, David Warner. Now, quick recap on all of the cool events which are happening within upcoming weeks as well. So we have the Microsoft Ignite happening this week. This is fully sold out for in-person experiences, but you can join and watch these sessions also live. They are live streamed within from the Seattle, so you can join them remotely as well and enjoy all of the latest and greatest within the Microsoft Ignite. Now, we also have the ESBC coming up within upcoming weeks, so 27th to 13th of November. So not next week, but week after, right after Thanksgiving for those who are based in US. And that's happening in Amsterdam this time. And there's a lot of community members, a lot of Microsoft employees also there sharing the latest capabilities and possibilities. We will actually have some announcements there, I think as part of the Jeff Teeper's keynote, which is happening on the first day of that conference. We also are already reminding people that April 13th and May 1st and 2nd, we have the Microsoft 365 conference coming up in Orlando this time. Last time we were in Las Vegas in MGM Grand. This time it is actually in Orlando in Disney World. So it's going to be a really cool location as well, happening on April 13th and May 1st, 2nd. A lot of Microsoft presenters. We're just updating the presenter and speaker list on the website. There's going to be workshops and workshop updates. There's going to be a lot of awesome content within this one as well. So we're looking into making that as one of the big announcement conferences within the spring for Microsoft 365. And we'll definitely have Power Platform stuff there as well. On Edgegon 365 Edgegon site, the Seattle, DC, and Dallas dates already published, so those are happening in 2024. Good to be aware of them. And then there's a countless set of community-led events happening all around the world. Some of these have a cost associated to them, some of them are free. You want to check out the communitydays.org, from where you can find all of these things. It might be that right within your city, in your location, there's some community events, and you can meet up the people, similar-minded people, in person. A great opportunity you don't want to miss. Now, this week, I did mention that there was a lot of news. We're not going to cover and even mention any of the news. I know that David is going to copy the list of news in the chat, but that's a lot of news, and this is partly because Ignite is happening this week, and then the Thanksgiving next week. So people are kind of publishing before Ignite announcements away, and then pending for the Ignite announcement this week, and then next week is the Thanksgiving in US, which is slowing down the announcement sequence. But a lot of cool announcements across the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform. And now, before we go to the actual stars of the day, we're well on the schedule. This is awesome. Let's do a group photo. Let me actually set together mode, start my Camtasia. 1 second. I should probably be ready to do this because I know that this is going to happen. Let's see what is the pixelation level of today. So I will move in, if we can get the view together mode to actually work. Now it's actually dark. No, don't do this fast. Let's try it one more time. Let's go to large. Let's go to gallery. I'm not going to put the video on. Oh, a lot of people. This is really cool. And now hopefully we can, if nothing else, we're going to do this. But I will switch one more time to Together mode. I'm not going to switch any sceneries. Maybe Teams is having a hard day. Maybe they're rolling out some features for Microsoft Ignite. And that's the reason why it's not working. Well, it's fine. Let's actually do a large, let's do gallery. Let's do oh, that's a lot of people. This is actually really cool. We can actually record this one. Absolutely. So let's do some hand waving, everybody. I will start recording. This is actually really cool view as well. Awesome to see all of the names and faces. And let's do some hand waving, everybody. Awesome to see you in here. Unfortunately, Together mode wasn't working properly, but this is not too bad either. A lot of people. I love the diversity on the different screens and all around the world. Technology is amazing. Just love it. This is brilliant, actually. Excellent. That's a worth of a GIF animation to get published in the social media for sure. Cool. Thank you for that one. Unfortunately, no Together mode picture, but that wasn't too bad at all. That was really cool as well. Now, then we'll go to the actual stars of the day. So we'll start with Nancy to do the introduction on the Viva Connection version 3.0. We did chat with Nancy and that there's small technical challenges on potentially on a live demo, but let's see how it goes. At least we can show a few slides and whatever we can show, and then we'll do additional videos and capabilities afterwards for sure. But I think this is the world's premiere on seeing the Viva Connection version 3.0 live, isn't it, Nancy?
Thanks, Vesa. Yes. This is, did you have to go through the agenda first, or should I?
No. Well, and then we go to Dan, and then Daniel, and then Isabelle. But let's start, Nancy, with you, and you can start with a screen sharing, and then we'll jump to Dan after that, and then Daniel and Isabelle. Definitely awesome demos today. But Nancy, I think you have some slides, unless I'm mistaken.
Perfect. Thanks, Vesa. Hi, everybody. Thanks, Vesa, for having me here. I'm a PM on Viva Connections team. I was here a few weeks back, and we talked about announcements. And now we will talk about the brand new experience we are bringing to Viva Connections. As Vesa mentioned, we have a bit of a technical glitch in my demo tenant. So we still have a demo here, but we will be looking at something which is a different environment, MSIT environment, if folks here are familiar with that. The only thing which I will struggle with here is I won't have the edit access, but we will be able to see what the brand new experience looks like. So we don't need to rely on slides, Vesa. We have a real demo working, but the edit capabilities, I'll maybe just talk about how they would show up on different surfaces and different components. Just a quick one-line summary of what we are trying to do with the refreshed landing experience for Viva Connections. So this is what I'm calling as a brand new experience, or some folks here are calling it as Viva Connections 3.0. So it's just the brand new capabilities the refreshed look or the new experience that we're bringing to Viva Connections. With this new experience, we are planning to introduce several requested new features, including announcements, branding, a revamped resources section, support for new out-of-box cards. And with this refreshed landing experience, we also bring feed back into the viewport. So we got a lot of feedback in the last release that we had. And now with this experience, we bring feedback into the viewport, and we are working on an improved layout of the connections landing page altogether. With that, I will share my screen. So this is Viva Connections app in Teams, and this is the refreshed look of Viva Connections, which we are quickly releasing. As quickly as in a day or two, we will start releasing to targeted release, and we expect to go to GA by early next year. So in January of next year, we expect to release to GA our brand new experience. So as we see on this brand new experience, there are two tabs to begin with. There's a home tab, and we'll talk about the feed tab in a bit. If there was any announcements created, it would show up on the top of this page. Announcement is anything which is time sensitive, and it can be shared with your employees based on audience targeting, and it will always show up on the top as a carousel experience. It's not showing up here, and I could not create it right now for our demo, but I think we saw that in like a few weeks back, and I can also share screenshots of how it will show up on this page. Followed by that is this hero or new spotlight section. So we are bringing feed back into the viewport. So any news from your org news sites will be shown up on this top banner or spotlight section, and I can keep scrolling, or I can click on find more news in connections, which will link me to the feed tab to find other news articles which are not showing up on the carousel on the top. Followed by the new spotlight, we have a dashboard section. So not much is changing here. Folks here on who have used Viva Connections in the past are familiar with the cards that we have, which offer various tools, any trainings that are coming up. So any important tasks that I need to achieve are basically achieved as part of the dashboard cards, which are configured here. Again, these are audience targeted, so nothing changes much here. But we are bringing in inline expansion. So instead of walking you to a see all experience, we will have a see more experience. So we'll load all your dashboard cards inline and expand it on the dashboard. Sorry, any questions? I heard some noise. I'll keep going. Followed by that is a revamped resources section. So this section is evolving, and we are moving away from global navigation. And now each customer will be able to configure resources directly on the resources component. We will have icon support, and we are able to support up to 50 resource links in the resources component for now. And we provide automatic icon suggestions, and anybody can update that the resources icons if needed. I need to refresh this page quickly. So on the bottom of the page is the Viva Suite referral page, which, yes, it's loading now. Some issue that we're hitting this morning, but at the bottom of the page is a Viva Suite referral. So based on the licenses that I have, based on whether an app is enabled or not within Viva within my tenant, I will see a set of other Viva apps I can click onto, and I can read their description. Now I wanted to also talk about the feed pivot. So once we have seen the home pivot, we wanted to have a dedicated section for feed. So if I click onto this section, I will be linked into Office feed experience. So we are making updates in the connections feed, and we are going to be relying more on, and we are going to be leveraging, we're going to be betting on M365 feed, and we will see the same ranking, same news articles that are showing in other places like office.com or Edge NTP. So that's one big change we are introducing on the feed pivot itself. Back to the home tab, and we have on the top right corner, we have the link to our home site. So I can go back to my home site as I could in my previous experience. And most of the other options still stay the same. I am able to like find anything that I'm looking for, give feedback, get support about. So these are not like the most popular options, but just showing that these options stay. But this is a brand new experience. These are the new components that we are working on, and these would soon be available for our customers to use early next year. Any questions?
As we have a few minutes, so I'm just elaborating here a bit. So there was a question related on the news. Is there a way to, how does the news are getting surfaced here? How do you control which news are getting surfaced in the hero part?
Great question. So on the hero section, I'll talk about what is releasing now, and as part of our work on Viva Connections refreshed experience, we will continue to push out more updates in Q1 of next year. So for this release, we will fetch news from org news sites, from site associated with Viva Connections experience. So if this is a home site backed instance, we will render news from the home site. If as we evolve this experience, we will render news from any org news site. So we will be bringing in 2 additional features, which is a filtering capability. So for example, in case of Microsoft and LinkedIn, we want the Microsoft Corp Comms to be able to pick which org news sites they want to show news from. So they can go and select Microsoft org news sites, and they can deselect LinkedIn home sites if they would like to. So we will have an additional filtering capability on this news spotlight section. Plus, we are bringing something which is very similar to a pinning feature on news web parts. So the editor or anybody who has edit access on this page would be able to override a news article with any post which is important, which is more relevant. So basically, we render news from any org news sites based on which org news gets selected. Plus, we bring in an override capability if there is something more important that the editor or the admin feels is important for the employees to catch up on.
Excellent. And then if you scroll a bit down on the dashboard area, just to call out this one, a lot of these dashboards, what you're seeing, and these cards, what you're seeing here are actually custom cards, which we're using in Microsoft. There's a lot of good ideas actually here related on pay integration, or in our case, stock award integration and perks integration and all of that. We need to be careful that we don't actually click any of these things because they do show Nancy's personal information. But obviously holidays and all of that. So a lot of this stuff we'll work on internally on figuring out how can we showcase or bring an example implementations of some of these cards available externally as well. But like stock awards or based up, that is a custom card because Microsoft has its own backend systems for the payments, and therefore the integration isn't standardized. But a lot of ideas in here. Also, I think the praise is a good example of an out-of-the-box card, and the Viva Learning is an out-of-the-box card. A few others are out-of-the-box card there as well. But we are able to build custom cards and custom experiences within a dashboard. And of course, this renders in exactly the same way within a mobile, within a tablet, or within the desktop experience. So it's really optimized for that consistent rendering across the devices.
Yeah. Thanks for adding that, Vesa. Just one thing that I wanted to like on the last note that you had. So dashboard experience, yes, that's consistent with mobile. The new experience that we are working on, the new components that we are integrating are going to first release on desktop, and mobile will follow in the next quarter. So there'll be a state where we'll have this release on desktop first, and we'll have work on mobile following in the next quarter.
Yep. Now, there's two questions. Let's take those and then move on to Dan's demo still. That Janko is asking, how will this fit in by SharePoint intranet, except cards are clear? Do we have resources also in SharePoint available? Now, we do have cards which are integrating on SharePoint, out-of-the-box cards. So we have the news card, we have other cards as well. So you can actually make the dashboard to show information directly from your intranet, so it's not a different thing. And of course, there's the MSW link on the top right corner, which Nancy was showing as well. That would be your home site, home intranet, where you can easily access that directly from the dashboard as well. So this is a one option. Of course, if you don't like the Viva connection at all, you want to have your just your portals. That is an option still. You can still choose that option as well. But what we are trying to do here is bring any device experience, because the SharePoint, modern SharePoint, yes, it does render in any device, but it's not necessarily that optimized for frontline workers. So we're trying to bring the Viva connection as a new shape for surfacing the same information as what you have in the SharePoint intranets, directly available then in any device if your employees are using. I use actually Viva connection using my mobile quite often. It's quite convenient. Do definitely recommend on that. And then there's a question from Lakshama. Do we have any resources on integrating with other systems, such as SAP Launchpad or all of that? We do have a lot of samples which are showcasing how to integrate to external hosted APIs. So you can definitely do integrations to SAP and other systems using the SharePoint framework, which is how you customize this. So the same SharePoint framework which you can use to build experiences from Microsoft Teams, Outlook, SharePoint, and now also in the Viva connection, you're able to use that in a safe way connecting to SAP. So definitely possible to integrate any external systems. Now we have a lot of documentation available on that. I'll add links in the chat where to get started. But I guess that's it. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Nancy, for saving the demo. This is not too bad. I don't think we're showing any confidential information from the Microsoft tenant either. So that was really good. So thank you, Nancy, on that one. So so just to explain that as well. So quite often what we do is that, especially these kind of things where we show something which is not yet quite ready, not yet shipped, it's coming from our eDoc, and the eDoc is our dog fooding, so to say, environment. We call it dog food because we're testing out, is it good or not internally. And every now and then somebody accidentally checks in code which might break things in there. But that's why we test it out in our environment, so it will never go out within a production. So that's what happened, unfortunately, today. But those things, it's life. It can happen. So cool. Next on the line, we have Dan Wahlin continuing his series on taking your line of business apps to the next level. Dan, you know the drill.
All right. Thanks, Vesa. Great to be back with everybody, and great presentation there, Nancy. I use that, by the way, like all the time, the dashboard there. And not only, as Vesa mentioned, on the main desktop, but I also use it on my mobile quite a bit, and it's super handy. So I recognize that screen. You have to bear with me. I'm a little congested, I guess you could say, this morning. I don't know what, allergies or something, but we'll get through it. So this is, I think, number 10 in our series on taking your line of business apps to the next level. And in this one, we're going to focus more on the signing in part of the application. And then we'll kind of dive into some other aspects related to Microsoft Graph Toolkit. For those that haven't been here for maybe the other 10, my name's Dan Wahlin. I'm with our cloud advocacy organization, and really enjoyed jumping on these sessions to talk with you. So let me dive on in here. And as, excuse me, as mentioned on this one, we're focused on kind of three main pillars that could take your apps to the next level. And one of those is AI, which you'll see in a moment. The next one is communication. And then this third one is bringing organizational data where your users are working every day. And we're talking more custom apps here. So we'll focus on the signing in, but here's kind of a quick review of what we've covered. If you want to go back and watch any of the videos that are up on YouTube, Vesa shared some of the links a little bit earlier, so definitely check those out. But we dove into around 5, I think it is here, sessions on AI. And this was mostly generative AI. So we're using Azure OpenAI, or you could even use OpenAI directly if you wanted. But we talked about how we can integrate some of those features. We also talked about how we can integrate communication features, and this would be things like phone calling, or you might have SMS, email, all those types of things. And it's not a lot of code to do that. So if you ever need that, this app will have that as well. And then we get to where we're at now. So now we're on our third kind of pillar. And last week in session 9, we talked about creating our Microsoft Intra ID, again, the artist formerly known as Azure Active Directory, just in case you hadn't heard it, and how we can create a registration there. And now we're going to use that to actually sign in the user. And I guarantee some of you in the call, you've probably done this, but if you haven't, this is like super, super cool because it's a minimal amount of code, much easier to maintain, and pretty easy to get started here. All right, so let's dive on into the demo then. So where we're at today is, and I'm going to actually mention one feature that's been updated. I'll get to that in a second, but is when you're in a line of business app, I all the time have to jump off. I just as an example was I fly up to Ignite this afternoon, actually. And I had to go in and check on something for hotel and some other stuff for the talk. And, you know, I'm kind of diving out of where I'm at to another app, but there's such a huge opportunity, especially with custom maps, to bring that type of data into where the user is to avoid those context shifts. So as an example, we can click on view related content and we'll get documents, Teams messages, none for this one, emails, and then we can dive into those if we'd like. And then we could also get calendar events that are for this particular company, a Datum corporation. And this is just using standard Microsoft Graph calls. You know, I just built a little UI around it, nothing special there, and brought this in. So let's go down to like Tailwind Traders, because I think it has a little bit more. Yeah, there we go. So here's our teams, and over the next 2 sessions, we'll talk about, you know, we can even send messages directly into Teams. And so basically the goal here is we don't want users to have to dive over to here. Just let them do their job if this is the app they work in a lot and bring the data to them. All right, so having shared that, I want to do a real quick bonus here. So we covered, this would have been like probably week 4, generative AI. And this will go out tomorrow, actually, to the tutorial site that I'm going to show you here in a moment. But the ability to chat against your own documents. This was previously based upon something called Vector. And Vector works great, but there's a newer option in this bring your own data or chat with your own data with Azure OpenAI. And it is a more of a hybrid plus what they call semantic approach. And what it does is it actually goes out and does keyword searches for the data they type. So for instance, it might look for company or refund. But if it can't find that, it can use Vector to find similarities. And then once those results come back, it can take that and it'll re-rank them. And this is kind of the last step. And this is the semantic ranking, it's called. So this has just been updated to use that approach. And what that means is as users type maybe more vague things, this will do a even better job finding that type of data. So check that out starting tomorrow. That tutorial will be updated. And this, for those that haven't seen it, this is where we are today, but this is the tutorial that you can go through. So what I just talked about is the bring your own data. That will merge in sometime tomorrow morning, mainly because we have some other stuff that can't go out till tomorrow morning for Ignite. So, but we're here now. So we're going to talk about how do I actually in this app, you know, get to the related data, because obviously you can't just do that for a user and that wouldn't be good for security. So I'm of course logged in, and this is just my demo tenant account. This is my Microsoft 365 tenant. I'm sure a lot of you have them. If you don't, you can get this for free. It's great. In fact, Aich is here as well. This is a fake account, but so you could certainly write the code to make this happen on your own. But when you start getting into the pop-ups and the sign-outs and picking other users and all this fun stuff, you know, you end up writing a fair amount. I didn't write anything for this. Well, I mean, I wrote a line or two of code pretty much. Now, I did, as we went through last week, have to go into Intra ID. And if we go into there, you're going to see, if I go down to app registrations, that I have this little app registration called Angular MGT right here. Now, I want to show you one thing on this. This is where you would normally set up the app registration, and then you'll see I can get my client. I must have my filter on here from another presentation. I don't really care on this one, but I'd get my client ID, my tenant or director ID, things that a lot of you have dealt with, right? No surprises there. Now, I do want to mention, just for those that maybe haven't hit it as much, this particular app, it pulls a lot of different data. Not only does it pull the user profile, so I need read access to that. It could actually pull their presence. You'd need access to that. Obviously, we have files, need access to OneDrive for Business, Teams chats and emails and calendar events, and there's even a little bit more that's not showing right here. So I finally got tired of approving all that, because normally once you log in, and you've all seen this, you'll have to consent, right? So just for those that might not have seen it as much, if you go into API permissions, I'll show you the little, this is kind of a cheat I did because I run this demo a fair amount. But you'll notice I've granted permissions to a lot of things this app needs. And it doesn't use every single one of these, but most of these it does. But you'll notice that admin consent is required, like on this one. Channel message read. And so there are some things where you're going to have to work with your admins, of course. And there's some things you could just let the user approve or deny. But I do want to point out that I'm already logged in, mainly just to save time here. But in doing so, the first time I'd log in, some of these things you're seeing here, these scopes or permissions, you would actually see a nice pop-up come up. And this login would trigger all that. So you'll be redirected to the login page. Once you log in, you'll have to consent. And then this would give access to these different features. Now, of course, if the user says no, then you'd have to gracefully handle that. And, you know, maybe I hide these buttons or something like that. Okay, so that's kind of where we're at. But what was involved to get this login here? Well, for those that haven't seen it, I love it. They've done a really, really good job, the Microsoft Graph Toolkit team. And this one's been around for a long time. Now, next week, we're going to talk about a very new one that you might not have seen, but this one's been around. So you'll notice the first thing they show off here is the MGT login. In fact, you'll see a little preview of that right there. Looks pretty similar to what I just had. You can even switch modes and all that fun stuff. Now, if you go to learn.microsoft.com, you can read more about this, but they'll have a link right below where you can go to a playground. This actually uses Storybook, it's called, and I have that right here. So you'll notice on the left that there's all these, I can probably zoom that even more. There's all these different components, agenda and file and login, which we're going to talk about here. People Picker I like a lot. There's some new ones. If we go down to the preview, next week we're going to talk about the search results, which is amazing. It'll eliminate a ton of code that you used to have to write. So we'll talk about that next week. But if we go to the login here, you can get to the docs, and this is literally all you'd have to do. Now, there's a little more to the story, which I'll show you in a moment, but this is a web component. Now, this particular app that I'm running here, the front end is actually an Angular app. We did that on purpose, by the way, because we had some folks go, why is it always React? Which I do React too. And they said, can we do some Angular every now and then? So anyway, that's why this one is Angular. We have a lot of other React too. So with that, though, these components, they work anywhere because these are web components, which are just awesome if you haven't seen them before. That means you can hook into some of the events, which I'm going to show you in a moment. You can customize with CSS, all the normal things. So I actually did that because I needed to kind of fit in with, you know, this little theme, not like it's a phenomenal theme or anything, but, you know, I wanted to have it look at least decent. So to do that, if you go into login here, this is kind of how you get started. Now, again, you do need to tie that in to your application. And so there is a little more you'll have to, in fact, now my filter's not running, but that's okay. It's a demo. These are some of the IDs and things I'll need, and I'll show you that. Now, what I want to show you, though, is they have different ways you can use it. You could just show the avatar, for example. if you wanted. You could show presence. Apparently, Megan is out of the office right now. You can write a line. There's different templates if you want to customize. You can see this one needs some work. Who amongst us is great at CSS? Because we need your help, obviously, on this one. But that's kind of the show off that you can customize. And then there's also a lot of different events. So if we go into this one, you'll notice we can listen to login initiated, login completed, log out initiated, log out completed. That could be really useful because, especially this is the one I've used the most. Once they've completed a login, you might make another call to go get some other type of data based on that user. So very easy to hook into that if you'd like to. Now, to get this going, let me jump over to the code to wrap up here. We had a couple things we have to do. First off, yes, I do have some HTML for MGT login. I'm assigning a class to it, MGT dark in this case. And then here's that login completed I was telling you about. Now, I'm not really using this for anything super useful because we already have some of this data, but I put it in to show it. We're actually then using the Graph client once they've logged in to say, okay, they're logged in, now go call the API me, and then get that data and emit it as an event. And then something else in the app could act on that. We're not really using that right now, but now we'd have access to their full profile. And of course, we could act upon that. Now, in addition to using this, the web component, we, of course, need to tell it about the app registration, right? So if we go into core here, you'll see I have a graph service. And at the top, we looked at this a little bit last week for those that were here, but for those that weren't, you'll notice this providers, global provider, and we have this MSAL2 provider. You'll see that all comes from this package. So npm install at Microsoft/MGT, Microsoft Graph Toolkit. And that's going to get us access to this stuff. And then what I can do is I'm pulling this during the build process. This won't be live at runtime in the browser. It'll actually be in the build process. I go grab the client ID back from that app registration. And then I define, here's some of those scopes I was showing you a little bit earlier, that these are the things that this app needs to get access to so that when they log in, they'll have that option to consent if the administrator didn't do what I did, which most administrators would not. I just got tired of hitting that consent. So I said, yeah, let's consent across the whole app. Now, the last part of that is once you're signed in again, you can also get to information here. If we have a provider and we can mark the state, we can use this provider to check, are they signed in? Are they signed out? What's the status here? And this is just a nice little wrapper around that functionality. So what'll happen is once they've signed in, this integrates with that provider so that we can know what is the status and all that fun stuff. So for those that have not used this before, I'll go ahead and wrap up by saying I love the Graph Toolkit stuff. In fact, next week, you'll see even more on how much code you could eliminate entirely by using different components in the Microsoft Graph Toolkit. So with that, if you're interested in getting to the tutorial, this is kind of the one I showed a little bit earlier. You can actually, that's not where I wanted to go. You can scan this code or you can go to this shortcut link here. And next week, what we're going to be talking about is some more MGT functionality. In fact, we'll talk about a brand new component that's being used when you saw like the email and the files and stuff like that, that cut out a ton of code. So with that, thanks again. Great to always talk with y'all. And Vesa, I'll send it back to you.
Excellent. Thank you, Dan. Really, really cool stuff. And MGT is so cool. So great work within the Graph team on that one. Let's move along within our agenda. We have Daniel and Isabella showing their best AI-powered solution from the Power AI hack. It's looking really forward on this one.
Thanks for that, Vesa. And Dan, thanks for that presentation. That was really great. It's got my cogwheels turning on what we can do for our solution that we're about to present. Hi, everyone. We're excited to talk about our submission to the Microsoft Power Platform AI Global Hackathon. My name is Isabelle Gaboc, whom will be presenting this solution with Daniel Kerridge, and together with our colleague JD, created this submission. For this hackathon, we had a number of ideas that we could do to leverage Microsoft's AI capability, but we all landed on focusing on the idea of improving the hiring process, mainly based on our experience and observations as a hirer and a candidate. So to put the problem into perspective, we've created a couple of personas to help us understand the user's journey and pain points. The first person we'll meet is Jose Boyd. He works for a recruitment company that's in charge of finding suitable candidates for his clients. His area of focus are frontline workers that requires large recruiting campaigns throughout the year. So think prior to the Christmas period, where there's usually a recruiting campaign for various roles such as customer service officers and warehouse packers to help meet the Christmas demand. During these recruiting campaigns, Jose spends a lot of time reviewing resumes, preparing the interview, and then conducting the interview to assess the candidate's skills and experiences for his clients. On the other hand is the job seeker. Meet Renee Rodriguez. She is on the job market, but as a full-time carer to her sick parents, she always seems to miss recruiters' phone calls trying to contact her for an interview, making her feel like she's one step behind everyone else. So this is where Seeker comes in to help streamline the process for both the likes of Jose and Renee. A Power Portal website that enables Jose to create job ads and allows candidates like Renee to view details about the job he's just posted. Renee can then upload her resume and conduct the job interview instantly at the time that suits her, all while saving Jose time from having to think about the structure and questions for the interview and then conducting the interview itself. So time for the demo. Take it away, Daniel.
Thanks, Isabel. So I'm here on our Seeker website and I'm logged in as a job candidate. So I'm going to click on View Jobs to see a list of available jobs that I can apply for. So I'm interested in this Power Platform developer position, so I'll click on that. On the left-hand side, I've got some information about the job, and I'll scroll down and click Apply Now. So this will bring us to the first step where the user is able to upload their resume, but I've already done that. So now I'll just click on Start Interview. This is going to bring us straight into an interview with an AI assistant that's been prepared by the hiring manager.
Hello. Welcome to your interview for the position of Power Platform Developer. Please tell me about yourself.
Yeah, sure. My name's Daniel, and I've been in IT for 10 years.
Welcome, Daniel. It's great to have someone with 10 years of IT experience. Let's dig into your skills and experiences as a Power Platform developer. Can you tell me more about your background with Power Platform development?
And I'll just end the interview there. But you get the general idea. The bot will continue to ask questions and follow up on the questions that on my responses. So now I'll pass back to Isabel to show how the interview questions are generated.
Sure. So just before we go to talk about the flows, which converts the resume to text, I wanted to talk quickly about the interface. So the interface that Daniel was using, which was also essentially the candidates and the hirers, they're interacting with the Power Portal, which was created using out-of-the-box templates and Copilot to generate the specific pages on the site. When a candidate uploads their resume, it triggers a Power Automate flow to get their resume, convert that file into text. That text is then saved against their contact record, ready to be used in the next part of the workflow. When the candidate selects Start Interview on the portal, it creates an applicant record. That applicant record acts as a bridge between the contact and the job ad. On creating that applicant record, it triggers the next flow, which is in charge of getting the applicant's resume and job ad description, and then passes that information through the ChatGPT connector, which then outputs interview questions tailored for the job ad and the candidate. Those questions are then saved against the applicant record, ready to be sent to the AI assistant bot. Over to you, Daniel.
Awesome. Thanks, Isabel. So we just saw the first two parts of the process, and now I'm going to go through the third part, which is what happens when the interviewer clicks the Start Interview button. So they're on this page, and on this page there is some JavaScript. So I'll just quickly bring that up to give you an idea of what it looks like. So you see at the top here, we're importing a bunch of Azure Communication Services SDKs. We're creating a bunch of variables, and we're getting a bunch of information from the HTML. And then we go ahead and set up a call client. So in ACS, there's two different types of clients. There's a chat client and a call client. The chat client's for instant messages, and the call client's used for like voice messages and voice calls and video calls. Next, we need to get a token. So we needed some way to authenticate to ACS, and we do that by via a function app. So this is the HTTP function app here, which creates a VoIP token and a chat token, and then it returns that to the JavaScript. So next is we set up the chat client. So embedded on this page, there's a hidden chat client, and we start listening for real-time notifications. So what actually happens on this page is when it loads, and we'll see this in a minute in the JavaScript, the JS does a call to the locally hosted C#.NET bot. And then when that bot answers the call, it then sends some chat messages back to the Power page. So you can see here that these are the messages that are being communicated between the page and the bot. The first message is system bot started the conversation, and then the page sends through the job title and the interview questions, and we saw how they were generated earlier in Isabelle's flow. And then how does the page get that information? We just use the Liquid templating language. So we have a couple of hidden fields here called interview questions and job title, and then so that's Liquid grabs that data from Dataverse and then displays it on the page, and then the JavaScript grabs that HTML elements and then passes that through to the bot via a instant message. So if we just finish off this JavaScript here, you'll see the remaining functionality where it's getting the job titles interview questions from the HTML, and then it's sending that message through. And we also do some other stuff to handle the webcam and the microphone. And down here is where we're doing the start call. So this is the bot's telephone number. So that's the JavaScript. And how does the bot receive the call? Well, we're here on a communication services service in Azure. And if I go down to events, there's an event set up for any incoming call. It routes it through to like a dev tunnel URL. Because the bot is locally hosted, it needs a way to connect to the internet, and it does that through a dev tunnel. So you'll see down here, the first half is the dev tunnel URL, and the second half is the request. And we'll see how that works in the C# code in a minute. And this is the event type, incoming call. So that's, and now we'll have a look at the C# code. So again, I won't go through all of this because it's largely doing the same thing as what the JavaScript does. It sets up the call client, chat client, etc. So I'll just point out some key features. Like in ACS, you can have many different voices, and there's some multilingual options as well. We're getting all our API keys from this app settings JSON file. And then this is that request that we just saw in that URL just before. This is the bot's phone number, so we're setting up an identity for the bot. And as we go down, you'll see the chat. So this is the first chat message that gets sent. And we're setting up cognitive services. So cognitive services is the service that we use to do the speech to text and text to speech for the bot. So it's able to recognize what we're saying. And that's set up, it's just an Azure service. So if I go in here and click on speech, you'll see text to speech and speech to text. Oh, sorry, I'll just switch back to the screen. So now we have, so the call is coming through, and the first, so if the call is success, the first message that JavaScript sends through is the job title. So we need that for the first prompt, which is, hello, welcome to your interview for the job title. Please tell me about yourself. From here, we go into a loop. So the bot plays that message back to the user so they can hear it, and then we convert whatever the user said, wait for the user to say something, and we recognize that text, convert it to text from speech to text, and then we send it to GPT with a prompt, and then we respond to the person in voice. So just to quickly go through those functions, here it is playing the voice to the user, and then we wait for the recognize event, and then we convert whatever the person said back into text. And then we've got this ongoing event process. So whenever the recognize event is completed, so the person just said, they just answered, tell me about yourself. So now we pass this prompt to GPT. We say the interview just said this, respond with something nice, and start with the first interview question. And then after they answer the first interview question, we have a different prompt, which is you're in an ongoing interview with the candidate. Here's a summary of what's been said so far, and respond to whatever they just said into the new input. So that's how the C# bot works. If you guys want to set this up yourself, you can do that by following these tutorials. So just go to the ACS documentation. There's one for the Node.js app, which is the JavaScript, and it shows you how to do the Webpack process to export the Node modules into a single JS file so you can host it on the Power Page. And for the call automation, the same thing is your call automation AI sample, the C# bot in the ACS documentation. And for the function app, you can go to day 3 from Tom Morgan's blog. That's where I got the information to set that up. So what you just saw was AI version 1, sorry, not AI version 1, Seeker version 1, which is what we submitted to the hackathon. In the background, we've been working on Seeker version 2 because we've got a hiring manager who's interested in using this in the real world. So we've added some functions to conclude the interview if they don't answer a particular question. We've got multi-language support, so we had a use case for Spanish. We've got more human-like voice, and we've got a few other features you see on the screen. We're also working on some other stuff, like so you can start the call via a telephone number, and you can view the recordings in the Power Portal. Longer term, we'd like to analyze the person's webcam and their speech to see if we get any analytics out of that. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed that.
A few challenges this week. It might happen, and realities of life as we're doing this live, not as a recording thing. So Nancy had some issues, but it was still an awesome demo related on introduction of the new Viva connection version 3.0. And actually, it was pretty cool to show the experience what we have within the Microsoft. So we're able to access our salary information and all of that information directly from our mobile phones through Teams with the Viva connection. So super cool stuff there. Dan Wahlin talked about signing in a user and getting access to for organization data using Microsoft Graph Toolkit. Awesome stuff there as well. And then Danielle and Isabel, thank you for staying up late or waking up early. Either way, it was done for you. Really absolutely brilliant solution. Unfortunately, a few technical things. It's a great teaser now, and we'll get that demo recorded as a separate one within upcoming weeks. Thank you for that one. Brilliant technology. And thank you, Isabella, also on explaining the wow moments related on ChatGPT and Copilots. Cool. So the recording, before we go there, next week we'll have Dan Wahlin continuing his journey related on using the Microsoft Graph within that context of that AI solution. So how does that can then help to integrate your own files and just sending messages directly within the AI solution and using Azure Communication Services. Super awesome stuff. Waldek is going to talk about debugging API requests with Microsoft Developer Proxy and Chrome DevTools. I do notice, and I know that we actually renamed the Microsoft 365 Developer Proxy as a Dev Proxy earlier today. So it's no longer just about Microsoft 365. It's any API what you can use on. And then Elliot Fraser is going to talk about his Power AI hack solution. So that's going to be, again, grand prize winner. I don't have the details on that one yet. We'll get that one covered next Tuesday. Looking super forward on this, definitely. Before we close up for today, if you have any questions throughout the week, if you want to have engaging with the community in an asynchronous manner, the Discord server is the one option for that one. We are closing in on 1,000 attendees there. I haven't actually checked the number today, but there's a super close of 1,000. It's going to be broken there soon. So people are helping each other with the questions and sharing their findings around building experiences within Microsoft 365 and Power Platform. The recording of today's call, why am I going into that slide all the time? There's one more slide before that. We want to have your feedback around these calls. Super important for us to improve these calls. So please do give us feedback. Fill in the form. It's a super fast form to fill in. It helps us on keeping this call in the agenda. So if we provide you enough value, then the poll calls certainly will be kept in the future as well. We do not have any intention to close this, but it always helps us to have some sort of a feedback from the community for our management chain. And then recapping, the recording will be available within 24 hours in the Microsoft 365 Power Platform community YouTube channel. You can subscribe there today so you know exactly when it's available. Typically, it is actually much faster than 24 hours, like 18 or even 12 hours when it's actually getting published. You can subscribe in the Twitter X to follow up on also when stuff is getting available. Use the LinkedIn also for discussions if you prefer LinkedIn over the why am I brains doing hiccups Discord. And anyway, the next call will be on November 21st at 8 a.m. Pacific time. All of the calls available, AKMS community calls. Please join on those which you want, check the recordings which you want, and let us know what works for you. Feedback always welcome. Thanks everybody for joining today. Awesome stuff, awesome demos from the presenters, and we're looking forward to have you in the call in the future. Thanks everybody. Bye-bye.